Okay, dear subscribers and viewers and those who are watching. So today we are going to discuss about the title of God at the beginning, especially when God was called God of Abram, God of Abram, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob. And later times it came to be God of Israel. God of Israel. So today we want to see why did God call himself God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And at first, when he was introducing himself, according to the book of Exodus chapter 3, when he was talking to Moses at the beginning, he said, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What's the reason behind that one? Why didn't he call himself God of Adam, God of Seth, God of Enoch? Okay, so now we want to track that history to find why the reason of calling himself these names. So we find at the beginning, after God created Adam, and what happened was the fall of man. And after the fall of man, God tried to accomplish his plan of salvation. But he can't do it until he provides or he builds the foundation for the Messiah to be born into this world. As we know that God planned that the Messiah should be born and will be the Savior of the whole world. So he must prepare the environment for him to be welcomed into this world. What he did at the beginning, he started to plan his agenda through sons of Seth. We call themselves the sons of God. If you can read from the book of Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. You find that statement. And the word became evil, and God had to destroy the word through flood. Once the flood happened, only 8 people were saved. Sons of Noah. So God has to start again through Noah to find his plan again. So what happened? Something happened again in the building of Tower of Babel. Tower of Babel. So God has again to destroy, to start again. So the last destruction of Babel was not to kill people, but was to destroy by introducing new tongues. New tongues that everybody has to speak something to bring confusion so that they can stop building that tower. That's what happened. So we want to find, why did he come to start again from here? So God was looking for a man where he can lay the foundation and no one to destroy it again. So he had to start from one person who was willing to work with him, and that was Abram. By choosing Abram, it doesn't mean there were no people who were worshiping God. We can find it when we saw when Abram met the king of Salem, Melchizedek. But here, we find God was starting his plan again. So he found one man called Abram. So God chose to become a family God. So to become a family God, the head of the family was Abram. So to start here, he had to make Abram go out of that land so that he may move with that family to establish the basement again from one family. That's why he called himself God of Abram. So now we can see what happened. So he started to do this one. And then, because he was God of family, every family had God. So they had gods, not God. They had gods, gods of God of this one, God of this one, God of plants, God of this, God of rain, God of harvesting, and everything. So God of heaven was God of this family of Abraham. So God was responsible for everything to bless this man. He was not young by that moment because he was nearly 75 years of age. So he had to bless this man. He blessed him tremendously so that he cannot be choked out. So he had to sustain his qualities so that he can be influenced to go to a next level. Then he survived through this family. And then Abraham got his son through the promise Isaac. So God was to be transferred to this another son called Isaac. So he became of the second family, because this one died. And then the inheritance went from Abraham to Isaac. And God survived the trial, and he became God of another family from this one. So he went to become the God of the family of Isaac. So that's why God calls himself God of Isaac. He survived again. He became God of woman, of Jacob. Now we can find out the issue of the issue of Esau, that Esau did not want that kind of God. Surely he chose to live the life which was different. That's why, but Jacob accepted God of his father, who was Isaac. So God of Isaac moved to become God of Jacob. Jacob does not mean only one person. If it was God of Abraham, means the whole family. God was the family of Abraham. That's why he took care of everything. And you can find the issue of Eliezer when he went to find a bride for Isaac, Rebecca. So now we can find the issue. God went from family of Abraham, he went to become the family of Isaac. Now he came to become the family of Jacob. By this whole level was the family God. I think you will get me. By saying God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, you mean the God of these families. He was the God, the family God of Abraham, family God of Isaac, family God of Jacob. But later on, God chose to advance. He went to advance. This was a low level. To become a family God, every family had the gods. So, if you could separate different families, what you could find is the family of Abraham had their God. Another family, they had their gods. So God needed to advance from being the family God to become the nation God. So that's what's happening. There are some of the issues you can understand here to see that God starts from a lower level. God is so humble to start from this one. All the people through the world by that moment were his people. The one who created them, and he blessed them, and he gave them everything they needed, rain and fruits and food and everything. But many people did not want to worship him. They worshipped gods and man-made gods. So God had to start to build the foundation for his Messiah to come. So that's why we say God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So when you pray and then you call God of, I pray to you, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you're just making God to be in a lower level. Now it's not God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It was because of that moment. But now is as advanced. It's not only the national level where we are going to start about God of Israel. Next time we are going to discuss about advancement of God from being God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and he became God of Israel. How did it happen? What did he do to become the God of the nation? What qualification God had to acquire to become that one? God did not force himself to do things. He followed the system so that he can establish and be accepted by people. Because God was, people knew that God was to be narrated and God was to be measured, tested to succeed or to qualify to become the family God. And God was, God of heaven was qualified to become through these three families. Therefore, you could get the point to say, now, if I've survived these families, now I can become the nation of God. Because he had survived these three families. It's not easy to survive three families. Because many gods were choked out because they failed to do something. That's why we find in our life, actually we find when I'm praying, maybe I need food, and then I don't get food, I don't get clothes, my children are not going to school. What do people do? They choose to, I don't want this God. They chop him out, and then God is disqualified. Then they try to find another God. That's why some people go to the witchcraft. So what I can say is God survived. If we survived these families by the time when idols were worshipped everywhere, believe me or believe God that he can survive if you can make him to be your God. The family God of yours, put the name, you can call yourself, maybe you are George. So God of George, of your family, God of woman, call your name John. God of woman, of or whatever, put your name there. So God of heaven become a God of your family. So by now, we don't base now again from here, because this was just a beginning of his journey. But now he has moved. We don't make him God of family again. You can't say God now is God of every family. Now he has moved. He's not God of the family. But I have put this one just to make something to be relatable to you. Now you can say he's your God, because you can say God of my family. God is responsible for my family, for everything. He's working to protect you and feed you and whatever. But now the system of working is not like this one. The system of here, he said, God, I will protect you. Everything I will do, I will feed you. And he was fighting for everything he was fighting for those people. So what I can say is, God now has moved from being a national God and becoming another level. So that's what we are going to discuss next time. Thank you for watching. Now, next time, you have to subscribe now, so that when I upload another video concerning this topic, it may look so difficult now, but it's going to be simple and relatable to our life, how we can relate to God. And we are going to discuss a lot of matters to understand them, how God has been working through life, God's in history, so we can find God, how God is. You know, through this one, we can understand the character of God and the application of God and how God lives with us, how Jesus worked different from other prophets and what was the difference, what purpose God had in mind to live like that one, and how we have to live like now. Because if we forget that one, we are going to be people of being frustration and everything worse in our life. But nowadays, things are becoming clear. According to the book of Daniel, the knowledge shall increase. And this is what the knowledge is. The book of Daniel was for us. So it's not the knowledge of things, science and technology. Knowledge of God. As the days goes on, at the end times, people will the knowledge. For watching, and welcome for the next part. Amen.